Hi everybody, thought I'd just come back and share a few things about saxophones, just like my last segment, and things I've learned over the years that I might share with you. But first of all, I'd like to welcome my guest, Saxophone, my friend Saxophone over here. How you doing today? Thank you for joining today. Glad you could make it. How you feeling today? Oh, not saying much right now. I guess must have been a long night. So, well, we can just talk about him or her. What are you, him or her? We just talk anyway. Never mind. Okay, so I suppose one of the first things that you might learn is how to hold a saxophone. First of all, I have not a strap. I have a saxophone holder, so you can see that it hangs around my shoulder like that. This is all plastic, and it supports right at where the rib cage, I suppose you want to say. And holding the thing, it just like hangs like that. And if you put it at the very bottom of right underneath your lower lip, that is about where it would be on you. So then you could just go like that. And one of the first things that I learned is just to, of course, you're going to be doing like learning all where notes are. I don't know if you sight read or whatever, but you have to know every note on here. And you could just find online what notes are what. Go through all the major scales, minor scales. But one thing that really helps with your endurance, I guess, and one of the first things that I was told to do is learn long tones. So you just take, let me make sure I'm warmed up here. So one note, I'm going to start with my A, the longest tone you can do. So that's me after playing on the same mouthpiece and reed, so I know what my air and endurance for air is. So if you can't play a note a certain length of time, there's a couple issues that might be going on. You have, like I mentioned in the last segment, maybe you don't have the right mouthpiece and reed combination. And it took me years to get the tone that I do have. So if it sounds all squeaky and squawky, then there's something else going on with your mouthpiece and reed, or you might have leaks in the saxophone. So those are real preliminary things that you have to run by an actual repair person or somebody that, you know, at a music store that can break these things down for you to buy the right mouthpiece and reed. So there's that. Okay. So another tip that I've learned as you go along and you're playing long tones, you're playing scales, is that you want to try, first of all, you got to slow everything down and learn your scales very slowly. And as you start to learn the actual scales and what notes you're going to play next, you'll be better at keeping your fingers, like hardly even having your fingers leave the keys. Like always keep them on there as you're playing. So of course you see this one flapping around, but for the most part, these other ones are staying closer to the keys instead of going all over like that. So that's going to make your dexterity, how do you want to say this? You'll have more proficiency if your fingers aren't jumping all over the place like. So not a whole lot of jumping around there. Just do the best you can to keep them on the keys, and then that way you can do as you go along, you could play quicker runs because your fingers you don't have that same kind of distance between your fingers and the keys going on. So that's another thing. So another thing I wanted to mention too is people over the years, wait, let me straighten this out. Ask me how I started and, you know, like, what do you have to do to begin and all that. And like I mentioned in my last talk, that I asked them what kind of saxophone brand, is it an alto or tenor, what is it? And they usually don't know, but I mean, that's okay because they're just starting out. But think about the fact that a lot of people, musicians that have been doing this for a long time, they saw somebody performing, and that person playing that instrument had a profound effect on them when they watched, and something went off in their head and said, hey, I want to do that. And so you're basically, you know, so into it, you develop a passion for it, and you watch other players and become inspired by them, almost to the point of obsession. That would be me. A lot of guitarists, for instance, saw the Beatles, and they were totally obsessed after that. And in my case, it was other, you know, the girl groups of Motown made me passionate about singing, and different, Junior Walker, of course he was on a tenor. Junior Walker made me passionate about wanting to learn how to play. Jethro Tull, Herbie Mann made me passionate about flute playing. So I think anybody that starts out, you want to have that drive based on seeing somebody that just like this light bulb went off in your head somewhere along the line that made you want to do that. So think about that, and if you're not inspired, start listening and watching videos of people playing that instrument or singing the way you want to sing and be inspired by it. So that's kind of what I did. I wanted to also include a video about exactly that. This guy's name is, I think his name is Jonathan Moffat. I just found this random Facebook video talking about being passionate about your instrument, and he even goes as far as saying to marry your instrument. And I would sort of agree with that. Yeah, you are totally into it, and so there's a big difference between like, I kind of want to play. You know, you won't get that far if you kind of sort of want to play, or over the years you kind of want to do it. Things get in the way, you know, but if you're really into it, you're making time. So check him out. Check this next video out. So that last video, was Rude Rush, talking about arpeggios and how to mix and match them in different ways. So let's try it. He's talking about D, G, C. So he's going, or switching it up like, so that's a nice way to, you know, as he calls it, get inside of that, try different inversions of an arpeggio. So you take that one, but then you try different arpeggios of different chords throughout a scale, different patterns. And let's get back to how much you're into the instrument. Like, you know, I'm doing this right now, but back when I first started, I put in, I'd say about 6 to 8 hours a day, and just learning the scales and arpeggios. I didn't sight read a whole lot, but I was really learning the instrument through the scales and arpeggios, and backwards and forwards, and like I said, different patterns, accenting on different notes, in also going through the scales in the form of, you know, quarters, eighth notes, triplets, and hopefully even sixteenths and things like that, just to vary it, get your hands used to playing these different patterns, to where when you get with a group and you're sitting in, this is all second nature. You know your way up and down the horn, really. So I'm condensing all this information and making it sound very simple, and it's very time consuming, and that's how you grow. So I hope that helps with what you're trying to explore. And of course, there's all kinds of videos out there, and actually going to a teacher that will break a lot of this stuff down for you. And I was lucky enough to have somebody that wasn't too constricted with sight reading, although that's a good way to go, but he was more about the theory aspect and learning your instrument inside out. So I hope that was helpful, and we'll see you all next time.